How do you prioritize features and determine the product roadmap?
I always stress understanding what the business strategy and the business goals are, because whatever that is, you're going to have a product strategy that aligns with that. And then your roadmap is going to align with your product strategy. So it's kind of from the top down, right? Depending on what your business is trying to do. And that then you have your product roadmap that aligns with that. And it's really looking at your vision and your product roadmap to say, hey, what do we need to do? What do we need to prioritize next? What's going to align and help us achieve that vision to figure out what to prioritize?
So do you get to set the product roadmap yourself, or do you have a whole group of people that are working to try to fit different things into the product roadmap?
Yeah, I work currently with a group in which we are deciding how to essentially create our product roadmap, what we prioritize. And it's all about collecting data points. So it's like when I'm talking about that business or the company strategy that you have, are you trying to go up market? Are you trying to, perhaps you have a lot of current customers that are at risk that you're trying to retain? In general, how are you trying to generate revenue for your company? And so you got to think about all of those in each item that you're trying to prioritize of how does it help you point towards that overarching company goal that you're trying to go for.
Now, how far out in the future do you plan your product roadmap?
We do every half, so 6 months. So right now we have a Q1 and a Q2 2023 roadmap. It's January right now, 2023. So about 6 months in advance, and then go through that and then try to go another 6 months in advance at a time. Awesome.
And then the last question I have about it is, how hard is it to change your roadmap? So if you start working on something and a developer either can't get it to go or get it done really fast, like, is everything set in stone, or do you have a way to make it fluid?
Yeah, I would say nothing is set in stone, mainly because if it can't be set in stone, it just can't be set in stone. Totally understand that there's certain times that most importantly is delivering on a feature that's going to be valuable to our customers. So when it comes to timeline, we see timeline as secondary. So if you are, shooting for something in Q1 and you're looking at the timeline of the project that's happening and you're asking yourself, can we deliver something valuable in Q1? Great, let's try to do it. But if it's, weeks and weeks off of delivering what's actually going to be valuable, that's when you really got to think about stretching that product roadmap, maybe booting it over into the next quarter and shifting it up.
Interesting. So you guys don't have do you have a hard release schedule then that goes along with your product roadmap, or is it just when the work's done, it's done?
We do. We are on about 6 sprints, so around 12 weeks at a time, roughly by quarter. And what we have found is that if you do a really good job of sizing up efforts in a product management and a user experience team, bringing to the development team enough information to give a quality, high-level estimate, then you can we call it Tetrising, like Tetris things in a reasonable way, account for uncertainty in those estimates, and be pretty close to what you had originally planned on the roadmap, that you're not, shifting a whole quarter's worth of work over. There may be an item or two, but it's going to be likely a smaller one and not a large initiative.
You said something interesting there. You said estimates. What is your process for estimates? Because this is a hotly debated topic among teams, how things are estimated.
Yeah, this is a tough one. In my career, I've done this a couple of ways. And between t-shirt sizing, so the concept of sizing things up by a release. So, say a release is a large, give it a large t-shirt size, it's going to be more than a release. And different companies have used that in reference to points. We say 80 points is a release, or, a little bit more than a release is 120, and, whatever method you have, but some type of benchmark to help you understand, okay, here's a previous initiative that we have done that is about the size of a release. How does it size up compared to that? Very similar to story pointing, except on a much larger scale, but also understanding the uncertainty that you had to account for in those previous initiatives. And that's what's key, is that if you don't take into account uncertainty and factoring that in, chances are you're going to have a lot of stuff pushed to the next quarter.
Absolutely. It's almost like uncertainty is hard to plan for.
Yeah, it certainly is.